Mangini. Coach, thanks for being with us. We are talking the latest on OBJ, mainly because you're there in Cleveland, so we figured let's talk about OBJ since he is also, at least right now, in Cleveland. One day after OBJ's dad trashed Baker Mayfield on social media, Odell was told not to worry about attending Wednesday's Browns practice. One report had head coach Kevin Stefanski telling his team that Odell is, quote, essentially not on the team right now. The team, some picked to get to the AFC title game, now mired in drama. So what does Baker Mayfield make of all of this? Take a listen.
Are you hurt that this is the route he chose to voice his frustration?
Hurt? No. Surprised? Yes. Yeah, I think there's different things that, play a factor into it. I've had conversations with his dad before, man-to-man, face-to-face, and I was pretty surprised by the video and, the intentions and the feelings behind it. I'd be lying if I said otherwise, but hurt? No, I'm good. I'll be all right.
Baker, one of the allegations that was made yesterday was that you're deliberately not throwing Odell the ball on purpose. Like, what do you make of that?
It's deliberately not throwing the ball to an extremely talented player that I've done a lot of work with is it's an opinionated statement. I'll say that. If he's back, then we'll work through it and do whatever it takes. I can put my ego and pride to the side to win, because that's all I care about is winning. But if not, then we'll roll with the guys we have out there.
Clearly, Browns and Odell's representation trying to figure out next steps. Kevin Wildes, you said yesterday the Browns should cut Odell. Is that an inevitability at this point?
I mean, goodness gracious, I hope so. Poor Baker. When you're being asked, Coach, hey, are your feelings hurt? And you're basically like, no, I was surprised. Like, his feelings were hurt. You tell me if I'm wrong, Coach, but I think distractions you're not a huge fan of, especially distractions for a guy who is 93rd in yards and 127th in receptions and has the same amount of touchdowns as you as I do this year, which is 0. You did get one against the Panthers that one game, so you have 1. I still have 0. So here's the thing. They're either going to ice him, cut him, or try to claw back some money and then cut him. I think he should go to Foxborough, but either way, I think if this relationship and this connection between OBJ and Baker was going to work, it would have worked, and we're far past that point. They need to cut their losses and move on. Do you agree?
Well, when you go, when everywhere you go, there's a problem. At some point, you got to take a step back and say, hey, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm the issue. And Odell's had issues wherever he's gone. And I understand that, and the Browns understood that when they initially got him. And I'm sure this isn't the first thing that's come up. However, he is extremely talented. He's your highest paid player. You have paid him a bunch of money to this point. And he still does get a lot of respect from everybody they play. I was watching the Titans game game from last week the other day, and he was getting a significant amount of double coverage, and he gets a lot of attention. And you can't. It's hard to put a price on that, and it opens other things up. So the best example here, or the best situation here, would be for them to try to figure out some way to make this work, some way to make this productive through the course of the season. Because if he goes somewhere else, it may increase the harmony of the locker room, but you're getting no value. Ideally, they would have traded him. That would have been the best situation.
Coach, here's the thing. I think it's worse than you're getting nothing out of him. He probably ends up working against you. I think that one of the reasons they couldn't trade him is the teams that are in contention for the postseason or a championship that have the biggest need at wide receiver, they're almost all AFC teams. The Ravens would love him, I would imagine. Wild says the Patriots. I'm not sure, but maybe. I think the Chiefs have shown a thirst for a number 2 receiver de facto by the signing of Josh Gordon. All those teams are competing with the Browns for a wild card spot this year. So I feel like that's one of the reasons they didn't trade him. and that's why they are in a rough spot. But I think we know the trajectory this is going, Broussard. Because again, maybe his dad shouldn't have Instagrammed that video. But the video was convincing. And Odell is open a lot. And it doesn't look like Odell's a bad player. It looks like he's not getting opportunities. And Coach, and I hate to bring this up, but Coach has firsthand knowledge of what it can be like going against a player who was once great, and then everyone thought he stunk, and then he got in a better situation. And that's Randy. Can we show Randy in Oakland? People are like, he's cooked. He's done. Can we show the numbers? I think we can. It's very similar to Odell's career in Cleveland. Right. Very similar. And then Broussard, Randy's first game out of Oakland, he happened to be playing our beloved Coach Mangini's Jets, and he went 9 for $183, a score, including a touchdown where I think he ran I've never seen this route before. It was just a curl across the entire field.
And caught it in double coverage.
It didn't matter. In double coverage, just ran past everybody.
I still have PTSD.
Now, you guys did. I know you do, Coach. That was his first game. His first game out of Oakland. It's like, oh, he's Randy Moss again. That's what I think Cleveland's afraid of, Broussard. That he's going to go somewhere else. It's like, oh, he's Odell again. And so I think they might be better off just sending him home than releasing him if they can find out a way to do that without violating the CBA.
Sort of what you said
like
yesterday.
The Randy Moss comparison is a great one. And if I'm Cleveland, I'm like, do that next year. There is no way I'm giving you the chance to do that this year in all the places you mentioned, Nick, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Baltimore, whoever it may be. Yeah. And on top of that, because he's clearing waivers. All right, he didn't get traded because nobody wanted to take on that $8 million. So I would have to pay you $8 million to go elsewhere and cook me and maybe keep us out of the playoffs. There is no way I'm just cutting Odell Beckham Jr. to do that, all right? Unless we can come to a financial settlement where I'm only paying you $1-2 million maybe. All right, so I think I agree with you, Coach, because I'm a proponent of grown man stuff, and I get it. A lot of times in the NFL, athletic leagues, even real life, people just can't have grown man conversations. But I would sit these two down, Baker, OBJ, with Stefanski, and talk it out like men and try to make it work. That's my first thing. If we can't reconcile, then I'll put you on the injured reserve list. All right, but if I'm trying to reconcile it first, Coach, have you ever seen a situation, maybe not this bad, but a close situation, where guys didn't like each other maybe, or they had some incident like this, but they were able to work it out and move forward for the betterment of the team?
Yeah, look, I've seen fistfights take place in meeting rooms, and then guys get along after that. And this is one of those situations where you're in the middle of the season, and you've got a competitive team. It's in really nobody's best interest for Odell to move on, except for Odell. So from a team perspective, from a management perspective, you want to make this work, and sometimes what you have to do is exactly what you're saying, Chris, is sit down and have the hard conversation and see if you can get to a common ground. If it ends up being the type of situation where Odell says, I won't play under this situation, or I won't do this, then at that point he's in violation of his contract, and that's a different category, and you can get money back in that scenario. But in a perfect world, you go and maximize what he has to contribute. And I know he's unhappy, and I know that there's probably an element of disruption, but you're pros, and you're in the middle of the season, and it's in everybody's best interest to move forward and try to get some place that's productive for the organization, for the team, and for each of these players.
All right, so Jenna, I know we're up against the break, but so one last comment. In Odell's Browns tenure, he has as many touchdowns as Joe Burrow has to Jamar Chase. 7 touchdowns. Jamar Chase is halfway through his rookie year. So why is that? We all know. Because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have a special relationship that dates back to LSU. We see them on the field, and they work seamlessly. The reason why Baker and Odell are not going to work, and I agree with you, Broussard, that like, hey, talk it out man to man, but no one is going to be like, you know what? I'm okay not reaching my potential.